Welcome to the Vex IQ Challenge referee training videos. Our 6th episode is about scoring matches. A head referee's most important job is to tally scores correctly at the end of matches and hand them off to the official scorer. Score sheets will be provided for your use at the event. Some events might use the Tournament Manager mobile app to allow for scoring on phones or tablets. Regardless, all referees should use the same process no matter which method your event is using. Note that although we will be mentioning the point values in this video, all that a referee needs to do is count up the various scoring scenarios and enter them on the score sheet or tablet. The scoring software will take care of the rest. As usual, the game manual is your best friend here. There are 4 ways to score in VIQC Rise Above: by scoring a base riser, scoring a stacked riser, completing a row, and completing a stack. Each base riser scored is worth 1 point. For a riser to be scored as a base riser, it must meet the following criteria. 1. The riser must be contacting the floor within the goal. 2. The octagonal faces are parallel with the floor, meaning the riser is upright and not sitting on top of the Vex IQ elements that make up the goal. 3. Not contacting the floor outside of the goal. Let's look at some specific examples. This riser would be considered scored because it is perfectly parallel to the floor and is not sitting on top of the goal. This riser would not be considered scored because it is not perfectly parallel to the floor and is sitting on top of the goal. This riser would also not be counted as scored because it is laying horizontally and the octagonal faces are not in contact with the floor. Each stacked riser is also worth 1 point. For a riser to be scored as a stacked riser, it must follow similar criteria to that of a base riser. 1. The octagonal faces are parallel with the floor, meaning the riser is upright. 2. The bottom octagonal face is contacting the top octagonal face of a base riser or another stacked riser. For the purposes of this definition, top refers to the octagonal face furthest from the floor, and bottom refers to the octagonal face closest to the floor. Note that each goal may only contain up to 3 scored risers, 1 base and 2 stacked. Any risers above this threshold will not count as scored. This might sound a bit complicated, but in practice it's fairly straightforward. So let's take a look at some examples of stacked risers. Each of these risers would count as scored, as they are upright and in contact with a scored base riser. These risers would be eligible for a completed stack. This top riser is not upright and would not be considered scored. Only the 2 lower risers would be considered as scored, and this example would not be eligible for a completed stack. Next up is a completed row. A completed row is worth 3 points and occurs when all 3 goals in a row have at least 1 scored riser and all of said risers are of uniform color. This one is pretty straightforward. There are 8 possible row combinations in Rise Above. If any of these rows only contain risers of a single color, then it would be considered a completed row. The final method of scoring in Rise Above is a completed stack. This is worth 30 points. And it happens when the goal is part of a completed row and has exactly 3 scored risers. It is important to note that each goal can only count as 1 completed stack, meaning that if the same stack is part of 2 completed rows, it only counts once. This means that to be a completed stack, the stack must also be a part of a completed row. Therefore, the entire row and the stack must all be a uniform color. Let's take a look at some examples. This is a completed row and a completed stack, as all of the risers in the row and the stack are the same color. This is almost a completed stack, but would not be scored as one. It is not part of a completed row, since all of the risers in the row are not a uniform color. This is neither a completed stack nor a completed row, as not all of the scored risers in the row are a uniform color. Remember, per G11, any scoring that takes place after the match due to robots continuing to drive will not count. If any objects are to be not counted as a result of this, it should be explained to the teams immediately. As mentioned in Chapter 1, make sure to do this in a calm and friendly manner. You should explain why this is happening, and use it as a learning opportunity that the teams can keep in mind for future matches. Once the score is finalized, just tap the Submit button in the TM mobile app. If using a paper score sheet, hand it to the Tournament Manager operator for the event. If the schedule allows, it is also appropriate to confirm scores with teams prior to turning them in. That's all the ways to score in Vex IQ Challenge Rise Above, and that's all for Chapter 6. Thanks for watching, and be sure to check out the other chapters in this referee training series.